Welcome to the Soul Revival Podcast, where we have deep and meaningful conversations exploring modalities, tools, and healing, guiding you back to your most expansive soul self. Welcome back to another episode of the Soul Revival Podcast. I'm Lindsay Stanton, your host, and I am so thankful to be here. Today, I want to talk about something that I see coming up a lot. And I think it's no matter what the astrology is, no matter what the season is, no matter kind of where we are. Well, to some extent, no matter where we're at in our lives, this is something that can come up. And I think just as humans, but when we narrow down and think about specifically healers, this is something I certainly see. And people, especially earlier in their journey, whether they're earlier in their spiritual journey or if they're kind of at the beginning phases of becoming a healer or learning a specific modality. And what I want to talk about today is that if something's coming through to you, and it can be for yourself, it can be for a client, depending on where you're at in your journey, if something is coming through as a quote unquote message, if it has shame, blame, or guilt in it, it is not from spirit. And I think this is really, really important. I see it come up in so many ways. And I, in a course that I'm in, I've heard one of the largest and biggest teachers in the space talk about this so often, with so many students coming back and asking the same types of questions repeatedly. I've seen it in with clients that I work with. I've seen it in different communities that I've been part of. It is consistent what that people will ask. And I feel like if you just hear it about somebody else's challenge or something that somebody else is going through, it maybe doesn't anchor in as much because this has come up so much. I also know that our egoic minds want to automatically go there, like to somehow blame ourselves or fault ourselves for a situation or a result, or, maybe if we're trying to make a decision and we're in fear-based energy, these are the types of responses that are going to come through, but it's from your human thinking brain, not your heart and your crown that's connected to God, source, the angelic realm, your spirit team, or your client spirit team, or even your higher self. And I think this is so, so important, because I know a common question, whether you're on a journey to become a healer, if you're a psychic or a medium, if you're early on your path of expansion and leaning in even for your own daily practice and ability to live your highest version of life in this physical body. We want to know, it's this constant push pull of trust versus proof, right? And it's part of the challenge of the human experience is, being in the energy of trust. And trust requires us to show up and turn over the controls, do the deep work, but turn over the controls once we've done the work, done all the preparation, we've done everything that we can do, and then we say, like the Carrie Underwood song says, Jesus, take the wheel. That really is what trust is. It's not just sitting back on your laurels and waiting for God, universe, source to come in and magically make everything happen. Trust is doing the work and leaning into all that's magically possible and the best and highest outcome. And I think that's so important. And one of the things that I will frequently say when I am expressing gratitude, and as part of my gratitude practice, maybe I'm looking to manifest something or expand in a certain area, I will ask for whatever it is that I desire and let it be in the highest and best good for all. and let it be in the highest and best good for my higher self, my soul, and for those in community with me. And I think this is important, and it ties back to really the element of making sure that you are tuning in and listening to the divine through a lens of love, and that love energy and messaging from love is always true. It's always the truest form of communication with the divine. And that's why I think it's really important to call out that if you're if you think you're getting something that's fear-based and anything in guilt, burden type energy, anything that feels unresolved or triggers unresolved emotional response within you, is from fear energy, and that is not from divine. Now, I want to clarify something. That doesn't mean that you're not going to get emotional, because when I'm in client sessions, whether it's human or animal, and it's more likely, I would say more likely to be the case if I'm in an animal communication session, I will deeply connect with the energy and oftentimes become emotional, especially like, for example, if I'm working with an animal who has had challenges, who maybe has had physical challenges, or they've just had a really rough go in this incarnation. Maybe they were abused, or they're emotionally stretched by having to be around, the humans that they've had in their past. I will deeply feel that. And, it might, it's not uncommon for it to bring up tears in me but I know they're not my, air quotes, mine, because I am crying almost in a channeled way. It's not that I'm crying and it's somehow triggering back something that happened to me in my past, or something that happened with me and one of my animals in the past. Same thing with working with clients, human clients that maybe are, at a certain phase in their grief, and they're deeply desiring connection with their loved ones on the other side. And as they start to piece together and get those nuggets of information and that connection to the other side, and they're leaning more into trust energy versus fear energy, which is thinking that it's not possible, that they're, gone forever, that all that's here is the material world. That is a very fear-based mindset, and it's hard. We all deal with it. We all deal with it. We all are faced with it on a daily basis. But when we can lean into the energy of trust, and I see the beauty of it with clients all the time, when they start to have and recognize, because you're always having these experiences. I just want to say that. I want to point out that so often clients will work with me one-on-one, and they might not think that they're connecting with their loved one on the other side, or they might not think that they're hearing from their angels, or their divine support team, their high council, their higher self, leaning into their intuition. They might not think that they're getting these things. They are always getting these things. It's just a matter of, are they tuned in to listen to them? And the beauty of it is, once you flip that switch on and you tune into the energy and the frequency of the communication that they're always trying to give you, the more you inherently are able to do it on your own too. So I've talked about this in other episodes, but it's very, very much like somebody setting the intention to start working out. And, those first few weeks at the gym are very challenging, and making yourself do the work to, get the fit body. You can really feel it early on. And similarly with this, you have to lean into the trust of feeling it early on. And then the more you do that, the more you're going to recognize that you receive. You're receiving it all along, but the more you're going to recognize what you're receiving, and you can start to piece those elements together like the divine magical puzzle pieces that are there and meant for you every single day. And the more we're in the energy of the magic and the miracles, the more we recognize the energy of the magic and miracles. And through that awareness, life becomes really beautiful. And it's not like we're not going to have challenges. Of course, that's why we're here, is in part to have, expansion through challenges. If everything always went our way, we wouldn't experience any growth, and we wouldn't receive any resilience, we wouldn't receive any vulnerability, we wouldn't be flexing our muscle, because we would just be like happy little clams all the time. But we also, as a result, wouldn't know the biggest, deepest joys, because everything would be static quo. It would be like just very mundane, very level. And because we get to be here and have these deep, deep experiences in both directions, the roller coaster highs and the roller coaster lows, it gives deep meaning to all the experiences we have. And I just think this is really, really important to note, because I have seen and witnessed it as a conversation in so many different ways, in so many different rooms, when it comes to all levels of spirituality. Beginners, people who are just on their awakening journey early on, whether it's, through grief, trauma, whatever end road has taken them down this expansion path. Thank you for listening to the Soul Revival Podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Stanton. I want to give you a special offer for all those who leave us a 5-star review. All you have to do is take a screenshot of that 5-star review, email it to info@thesoulrevival.com, and every month we're going to be giving away 30 days of the community membership. 30 days of community membership. That's 30 days of being around like-minded people who are on their spiritual expansion journey. All you have to do is give us a 5-star review, snap a screenshot, and email it to info@thesoulrevival.com. Thank you so much for listening. All the way through, healers who are actively working with clients and doing client sessions. This is a conversation that, they, especially for ourselves, I feel like it can be easy to try to figure out and question whether something is from the divine, or if it's from our egoic mind, because we're always looking for that compass, that, guided direction. And one of the things that makes reading the compass extremely easier, not that it's easy, but easier, is when we know for a fact that if the message comes from a lens of making you feel bad, shame, guilt, regrets, it is not of spirit. And once we can assign that filter, it's immensely valuable, because it allows us to not call into question many things that we're calling into question, and it creates space around having that true compass and guidance of your North Star, of your highest self, of your divine support team. And I'm sure we can all think of examples, whether it's through work, through personal relationships, through any area of your life where you're needing guidance. Maybe you're thinking about moving and you don't know if you're thinking about moving out of fear, or if you feel like you're being guided to move. When you dig in and look beneath the surface and discern what elements of the move are calling to you, is that energy from fear? Is it from expansive love? Maybe it's to be closer to loved ones, and you can anchor into your divine support team and see, are they calling you to go be closer to your family members? If you're trying to decide between two jobs, or you're at a job and you're wondering if you should be looking for a job. I know today's times are, can create a lot of fear and uncertainty just, by the news and things going on in the world. So, are you feeling like you should look for a job and research other jobs out of fear because you're worried about losing the job you have, even though, you are really happy in the culture and with the people that you're working with? Are you wanting to expand your friendships, but, maybe you have had issues in the past with people doing things that hurt you? So you're not putting yourself out there and creating the connections, or you're not taking a leap to join the community, or maybe even, start something of your own. Is the energy from fear, or is it from love? And I always want you to know that this is a rule. Like, this is a universal truth. Maybe rule isn't the best word, but universal truth is, I think, a really good description, that the divine are here to love and support us. Any negativity from our physical relationships dissipates when we cross over to the other side, and everything is looked at through the lens of love. So anything that you needed forgiveness for, anything you needed to forgive for, all of it is of love. And this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to recognize that. And so if you if you are a healer and you're in a client session, or you're, connecting telepathically in whatever capacity, and something's coming up for you and it seems negative, either it's, you're feeling like something coming through that's critical of the person or their behavior, or want to tell them something that they need to fix. That's not coming from spirit. And if you dig deep into elements of what's coming through, chances are it connects back to something that you've experienced or something that you need to work through. And I think this topic is really important in and of itself. It also ties directly back to why it's so, so, so important for us as healers to do the deep, hard work. Even though it's difficult to sit in your grief, to transmute your grief, to be in those harder spaces, it is necessary. The only way that we connect and can help the clients that we're serving is for us to do this deep work. Obviously, not only does it provide a clean slate and doesn't eliminate, anything that might be coming up for you personally through client sessions, but the more that we do the work, the less often that's going to happen. And eventually, I think it does eliminate, because we're always growing, we're always expanding. And I think it's so important for me personally. I'm never going to be content in the space I'm at from a spiritual growth perspective. There's always so much more that we can learn. And by learning, I don't mean just like taking a class or getting a certification. So much more about the learning is the feeling. It's in the feeling. And that's why I know, for me personally, that's why somatics called to me early, because so much of this is about what my body is telling me, when for my own growth, for clients' growth, for communication and helping clients with their animal companions in every capacity. Feeling into my body is a beacon to me of connection to the other side. That's my path. A lot of people have different pathways. You might have a different end road. But without having done the deep work and sitting by myself in lonely corners, feeling all the feelings and tuning in to the other side as I grieved, is what brought me to the place that I am today, where I can continue to learn and expand and be the best version I can be for myself and for those in my community, those who come to me as clients. And that's why it's necessary if you are being called as a healer. I think as a collective now, bringing our best selves to the table and doing this work continuously is so important, because that is how we really change the collective and rise the collective, is through this deep, meaningful work. And it is the only way I feel at a soul level. I have a deep knowingness. This is the only way, through these channels, through these communities, through this expansion, through the love and light that we bring as a collective. That's the only way that we combat the negative, the power hungry, the narcissist, the elitist, all of these things that we feel constricted by, all these false elements of power that surround us as a society and as a culture. The pathway to combat them is actually through our own individual growth, learning, expansion, and healing. It's through healing ourselves that we start to heal everyone around us, our clients, the communities that we're in, the cities we live in, the states that we're in, the country that we're in. Has an amazing ripple effect. And that's why it is so important to not anchor into the energy of fear. And that's why, if you're getting a message for yourself or for a client that is negative, it's like of shame, it's of guilt, it's of regret, that is not the divine speaking through you. So I think it's really important, if you have those moments where those things are coming through, to reset, go into meditation, and ask, what is this bringing up for you specifically? Not the person that if it's a client that you thought you were reading, not about them, but what for you is this specifically bringing up to shine awareness around, that you need to go back and do some more work on. And we are always, always, always a work in progress. And I think that's the beauty. I mean, it excites me. I'm a consummate learner, and I love diving into new tools, new modalities, new ways of practice, even learning new ways of practice and hearing, on a topic that I already have some knowledge on, finding out new ways that other people are using different tools or modalities, or intertwining them in a unique way. Every healer has a completely unique fingerprint, and the way that you're pulling modalities together. And even because we all have our own unique voice, our throat chakra, and the blueprint of our throat chakra and the specific way that we communicate a message is so important. This is why in sales, going as a sales team works, because one salesperson might not speak to the audience. They might say the exact same thing as their counterpart, but because that throat chakra is delivering it differently, their coworker might say the exact same thing that they said, and it lands completely with the potential buyer. It is the same thing with our healing journey. We are all here to bring our specific healing blueprint to this world. I 1000%, as I've mentioned in other episodes, know at a soul level Gary Zukav's teachings that if we are here in this incarnation right now in this current time, our souls were called here for a reason, to help rise the collective. And we rise the collective by rising ourself and doing that deep, deep self work. And it is not selfish. It is not selfish to do your own healing. It is necessary to help us to help others, we can't help others until we help ourselves. It's like the whole old adage about putting your oxygen mask on first if you're on a plane that's going down. As healers, we have to be doing this work. We have to be constantly evolving, expanding, and doing our own transformational healing. And when we do that, we recognize and we feel into our hearts the release of any guilt, shame, regrets that we had, because we know that all those things that our human might feel bad about happened for a reason. And they brought us to the pivotal point that we're at now to help ourselves and to help others, which ultimately helps the collective. So I hope today's message resonates with you. I have encountered this in so many different arenas that I thought that it was a really important topic to talk about. And I also think that I'll just say one more thing before I conclude, that I also think that this is a way that self-doubt creeps in when we're bringing in something that we think is, guilt or shame or something more negative in nature for either ourselves or for our client. It is actually us doubting our own intuitive abilities, and it's a reflection of that. So the more that we do the deep work, the more we expand our own awareness and tap into our own knowingness, the more we can release that fear-based mentality and not be attached to that and really be in a place of divine love and truly be a channel for divine love. Because at the end of the day, as healers, that is what we're here to do, is to channel the divine. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode, and I hope you have an amazing, blessed rest of the week. If this episode resonated with you, that's not a coincidence. That is Spirit leading you to where you are meant to be. Choose soul expansion, choose community, choose growth. Join us at our sacred community where healing is better because we do it together. Go to www.thesoulrevival.com.